Trust in God's plan, overcoming challenges with faith. C.S. Lewis explains the purpose of solitude. C.S. Lewis often spoke about the power of perspective and how it shapes our understanding of life. In his works, Lewis uses vivid imagery to illustrate how our personal outlook can dramatically alter the way we experience the world around us. He once remarked that life can be viewed through two contrasting lenses: some see it as a luxurious hotel, while others see it as a confining prison. This metaphor captures a crucial truth about human perception: our inner attitude towards life greatly influences our reality. When we approach life with the expectation that it is meant solely for personal happiness, we often find ourselves disappointed. In this view, life becomes akin to a luxurious hotel, where we expect comfort, ease, and instant gratification. We are shocked when difficulties arise, feeling as though we are being wronged or deprived of something we believe we deserve. This perspective can lead to constant dissatisfaction, frustration, and a sense of entitlement that ultimately robs us of joy. For example, in modern society, many people are taught to prioritize happiness, personal success, and material gain. These goals, while not inherently bad, can create a distorted view of life. If we see the world as a place that exists purely to satisfy our desires, any hardship can feel unbearable. Life's inevitable challenges, financial struggles, health issues, relational conflicts, become overwhelming because they don't fit into our idealized version of what life should be. When we expect the world to cater to our happiness, every inconvenience or struggle feels like a personal affront, as if something is fundamentally wrong. On the other hand, if we change our perspective and view life as a place for growth and moral development, everything changes. In this view, life is not about personal happiness or comfort, but about learning, growth, and becoming the best version of ourselves. Struggles, setbacks, and hardships are no longer seen as obstacles to happiness, but as opportunities for character formation. This perspective is more in line with viewing life as a training ground for our souls, a place where every experience, good or bad, plays a role in shaping who we are. Lewis's metaphor of the prison versus the hotel helps illustrate this dichotomy. When life is seen as a prison, we are bound by our expectations and the limitations we place on ourselves. We feel trapped by our circumstances and constantly yearn for something more, something better. We might find ourselves asking, "Why me?" or "Why is life so unfair?" This mindset can lead to a sense of despair or resentment, especially when our dreams or goals aren't fulfilled in the way we expect. However, when life is viewed through the lens of personal growth, it becomes far more bearable and even rewarding. This shift in perspective allows us to embrace life's challenges as necessary parts of our journey. The difficulties we face are no longer seen as punishments or roadblocks but as essential steps toward becoming wiser, more compassionate, and more resilient. Instead of seeing life as a prison, we can begin to see it as a vast and complex training ground where every trial is a lesson, every setback an opportunity for growth. This transformative perspective is rooted in the idea that life's struggles have meaning. From this point of view, we understand that hardship can be a means of refining our character, building our faith, and drawing us closer to God. Lewis, in many of his writings, pointed to the idea that suffering is not meaningless. Rather, it is a necessary part of the human experience that serves a greater purpose. The discomfort we experience today can shape us into stronger, more empathetic individuals capable of facing future challenges with greater resilience. Ultimately, this shift in mindset brings contentment, not because life becomes easier, but because our relationship with life's difficulties changes. When we stop expecting life to be a hotel, a place of constant ease and luxury, we free ourselves from the disappointment that inevitably comes when reality doesn't align with our expectations. Instead, by embracing life as a journey of growth and self-improvement, we begin to find fulfillment, even in the midst of hardship. This perspective doesn't eliminate challenges, but it transforms how we engage with them, turning even the hardest moments into opportunities for growth and peace. Trials and hardships are an inevitable part of the human experience, but they can be profoundly transformative when viewed through the lens of spiritual growth. Many people, when facing difficult times, ask questions like, "Why is this happening to me?" or "What did I do to deserve this?" But from a faith-based perspective, challenges and suffering often serve a deeper, more meaningful purpose. Rather than being random or senseless, these trials are seen as part of a divine plan, carefully designed to shape and prepare individuals for a greater purpose. Throughout Scripture and spiritual teachings, we find the recurring theme that hardships are a form of preparation, a necessary process that strengthens faith, builds character, and molds a person into someone capable of fulfilling a higher calling. This idea is echoed in various religious texts, where suffering is not only expected but is considered an essential aspect of spiritual growth and maturity. When we encounter difficulties, whether they are financial struggles, health crises, relational breakdowns, or personal losses, it can be easy to feel overwhelmed and disheartened. The immediate instinct may be to question the fairness of the situation or to seek a quick resolution. But faith teaches that trials are not simply roadblocks to happiness or success, they are opportunities for transformation. They provide a chance to learn perseverance, patience, and trust in God's timing. In the Christian tradition, this concept is often discussed in relation to the refiner's fire metaphor. Just as gold must be purified through intense heat, so too must individuals go through trials to emerge stronger, more refined, and more aligned with God's will. This process of refinement is rarely easy or comfortable, but it is necessary for the development of a character that reflects righteousness and peace. Through enduring hardship, individuals learn to rely not on their own strength, but on the grace and power of God. C.S. Lewis, in his reflections on suffering, suggested that God uses pain as a megaphone to rouse a sleeping world. In other words, hardships often serve as wake-up calls, moments in which we are forced to confront our limitations and seek a deeper relationship with the divine. While we may not understand the reasons for our suffering at the time, we are called to trust that there is a purpose beyond what we can see. One of the most comforting aspects of this perspective is the assurance that trials are not pointless. Every challenge we face has the potential to shape us into better versions of ourselves, provided we are willing to learn from the experience. For example, consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and wrongfully imprisoned, Joseph endured years of suffering. Yet, through each hardship, God was preparing him for a future role as a leader who would save an entire nation from famine. Joseph's story is a powerful reminder that even the most difficult and painful circumstances can serve a greater purpose when we trust in God's plan. This belief that hardships are part of a divine preparation process also provides hope. While the pain and difficulty of trials are real and should not be minimized, there is an underlying assurance that these struggles are not the end of the story. Instead, they are the groundwork for a future filled with righteousness and peace. The Apostle Paul, in his letters to early Christian communities, often spoke of the harvest of righteousness that comes from enduring trials with faith. This harvest refers not only to the internal growth of character but also to the peace that comes from knowing we have been shaped by God's hands for a specific purpose. It's important to recognize that this process of preparation through hardship does not happen overnight. Growth takes time, and often, the fruits of our trials are not immediately visible. However, with patience and perseverance, we begin to see how each struggle has played a role in our spiritual and personal development. We become more resilient, more compassionate, and more attuned to the needs of others, as our own suffering enables us to empathize with the pain of those around us. In moments of hardship, it can be helpful to remember that we are not alone in our struggles. The Bible is filled with stories of individuals who endured tremendous suffering only to emerge stronger and more aligned with God's will. From David facing Goliath to Paul and Silas singing hymns in prison, these stories remind us that God is present in our pain, guiding us toward a future that may be difficult to see now but is full of promise and hope. Ultimately, trials are not simply obstacles to be avoided or endured with gritted teeth. They are a crucial part of the journey toward spiritual maturity and a deeper relationship with God. By trusting in God's plan and recognizing the transformative power of hardship, we can find peace in the midst of suffering and look forward to a future where the fruits of our trials will be fully realized. C.S. Lewis famously posited that God uses our pain as a megaphone to rouse a deaf world, suggesting that our moments of greatest difficulty are often the times when God's presence and purpose are most palpable. This perspective views hardships not merely as unfortunate events to be endured but as meaningful encounters that can deepen our faith and reliance on divine strength. Understanding the role of God's presence in our pain can transform the way we experience and respond to life's inevitable challenges. In our human experience, pain is a universal condition, no one is exempt from suffering. But for those of faith, pain can also be a profound opportunity for spiritual growth and a clearer understanding of God's workings. This notion doesn't minimize the reality of suffering or suggest that it should be welcomed with open arms, but it offers a way to interpret and engage with these experiences constructively. Communication through hardship. According to Lewis, pain grabs our attention in ways that comfort and prosperity do not. When life is going smoothly, it's easy to become complacent about our spiritual needs and growth. We might neglect our relationship with God, becoming distracted by the material aspects of life. However, when pain disrupts our comfort, it shatters this complacency, forcing us to confront our vulnerabilities and our reliance on something greater than ourselves. This idea is not unique to Christianity. Many religious traditions recognize that suffering can lead to profound spiritual insight and transformation. In these moments, the noise of everyday life dims, allowing us to hear more clearly the divine voice that is always present but often drowned out. Pain, in its piercing way, cuts through the illusions of self-sufficiency and control, revealing our fundamental dependence on God. Deepening faith. Hardships test faith, and this testing can lead to its strengthening. Just as muscles grow through the stress of exercise, so too can faith solidify through the challenges it encounters. This process often involves wrestling with big questions about purpose, existence, and the nature of God, a spiritual struggle that mirrors Jacob wrestling with the angel in the Bible. Through this struggle, individuals often emerge with a more mature, tested faith. For many, the most authentic and robust expressions of faith come in the wake of suffering. These are the moments that compel a deeper engagement with Scripture, prayer, and community. They drive the heart and mind to seek solace and understanding from a higher power, forging a closer and more personal relationship with God. Reliance on divine strength. In recognizing that we cannot navigate pain alone, we learn to lean more heavily on God's strength. The Apostle Paul speaks of delighting in weaknesses and hardships, for when I am weak, then I am strong, 2 Corinthians 12 verse 10, a paradox that highlights the divine power made perfect in human frailty. This reliance is not passive resignation but an active drawing on the endless reserves of strength that God offers. This dynamic is evident in countless biblical narratives where heroes of faith faced overwhelming odds and profound suffering, only to experience God's intervention and support in miraculous ways. From Daniel in the lion's den to Paul's shipwrecks and imprisonments, the message is clear: God's presence is most acutely experienced not in the removal of obstacles but in the provision of strength and endurance amidst them. Transformative power of pain. Ultimately, the transformative power of pain lies in its ability to shift perspectives, reconfigure priorities, and heighten spiritual awareness. It serves as a furnace in which more authentic selves are forged and refined. Those who have walked through the valley of the shadow of death often attest to a deeper sense of purpose and a renewed commitment to living in alignment with divine will. Thus, understanding God's presence in pain is not about finding superficial silver linings but about recognizing the deep, structural ways in which suffering can enrich and deepen spiritual life. It is about seeing that in the tapestry of life, the darkest threads are as essential to the overall design as the brightest ones, and that God is intricately involved in the weaving of both. Biblical texts have long served as beacons of hope and guidance, offering profound insights and encouragement during life's most challenging moments. This theme is intricately explored through a detailed examination of three pivotal Bible verses: Isaiah 41 verse 10, Romans 8 verse 28, and Hebrews 10 verse 23. Each of these scriptures provides a cornerstone of faith, reinforcing the belief in God's perfect timing and His steadfast presence amidst the trials and tribulations of life. These verses not only offer reassurance but also promise that, for those who trust in Him, all experiences, however difficult, are woven into a greater divine plan for good. Isaiah 41 verse 10, a promise of divine support. Isaiah 41 verse 10 is a profound declaration from God to His followers, assuring them of His unending support and protection. The verse reads, "Fear not, for I am with you, be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, yes, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." This scripture speaks directly to those feeling weak, overwhelmed, or isolated, offering them a divine promise of strength and assistance. It's not merely a passive reassurance but an active commitment from God to provide aid and comfort. For believers facing daunting challenges, this verse serves as a powerful reminder that they do not endure alone. God is perpetually at their side, ready to offer His support and guide them through their difficulties. Romans 8 verse 28, affirmation of God's omniscient plan. Romans 8 verse 28 broadens the perspective of believers, encouraging them to view their life's events through the lens of divine providence. The scripture states, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This verse is pivotal, for it encapsulates the essence of Christian faith, that every circumstance, no matter how arduous or harrowing, is part of a meticulously crafted divine plan. It reassures believers that their trials and their joys are not random but are part of God's grand design, meticulously orchestrated for their ultimate benefit. This realization fosters a sense of peace and trust, allowing believers to endure hardships with the confidence that their experiences are contributing to a larger, benevolent purpose. Hebrews 10 verse 23, holding fast to hope. Hebrews 10 verse 23 emphasizes the importance of hope and steadfastness in the believer's spiritual journey. The verse urges, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for He who promised is faithful." It highlights the necessity of clinging to hope, especially in moments when circumstances might seem bleak. The invocation to hold fast without wavering is a call to trust in the reliability of God's promises. This verse serves as a motivating force, inspiring believers to persist through trials with the knowledge that God's fidelity is unwavering and His promises are sure. Integrating biblical encouragement into daily life. The integration of these scriptures into daily life demands more than casual acknowledgement, it requires deep reflection and active application. Believers are encouraged to meditate on these verses, allowing the truths they contain to reshape their understanding of adversity and support their spiritual resilience. In moments of loss or failure, recalling Romans 8 verse 28 can transform despair into hopeful anticipation. In times of fear or uncertainty, Isaiah 41 verse 10 can fortify courage. And in periods of doubt or weariness, Hebrews 10 verse 23 can rekindle a spirit of hope. Community and collective reflection. The role of community in reinforcing these scriptural truths is indispensable. Sharing these biblical promises within a faith community helps individuals not only to remember them but also to witness their manifestation in the lives of others. This collective experience can be incredibly uplifting and affirming. Regular engagement with these scriptures through worship, study, and communal prayer further embeds these truths in the hearts and minds of believers, fortifying them against the vicissitudes of life. In summary, these biblical verses form a crucial element of the spiritual toolkit for any believer, offering not just solace but a robust framework for understanding and navigating life's uncertainties. Through these promises, followers of faith are continually reminded that they are never alone. Their struggles are purposeful, and their faith remains both valid and vital. This divine assurance helps to cultivate a profound sense of peace and confidence, rooted in the unshakable promises of a faithful God. In the narrative of spiritual growth and endurance, hope and perseverance emerge as fundamental virtues, empowering believers to navigate through life's myriad challenges. The scriptures and numerous biblical accounts underscore the critical role these qualities play, not merely as spiritual concepts but as practical tools that galvanize the faithful in times of profound adversity. This perspective is vividly illustrated in the lives of biblical figures such as Joseph, Paul, and Silas, whose stories encapsulate the essence of steadfast faith and its capacity to invoke divine intervention. The vitality of hope. Hope, within the biblical context, is far more than wishful thinking. It is a confident expectation rooted in the promises of God. It is the assurance that, despite current circumstances, God's fidelity remains unshaken, and His plans are to prosper and not to harm. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. This type of hope is prophylactic, guarding the hearts and minds of believers against the despair that often accompanies trials. It serves as an anchor, stabilizing the faithful amidst life's tumultuous seas, ensuring that despite the ferocity of the storms they face, they are not swept away by waves of hopelessness. Scripture is replete with exhortations to embrace hope. Hebrews 6 verse 19 describes it as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast. This imagery is potent, suggesting that hope has the dual function of providing stability and security. It is not passive but actively engages with the realities of life, countering the uncertainty of temporal circumstances with the certainty of eternal truths. The power of perseverance. Closely linked to hope is the principle of perseverance. To persevere means to continue in a course of action even in the face of difficulty, with no prospect of success in sight. It is endurance codified. In the Christian walk, perseverance is not merely enduring trials, it is how one endures them, maintaining faith and integrity throughout. James 1 verse 12 praises those who persevere under trial, promising the crown of life to those who love God and prove their love by remaining steadfast. Perseverance is particularly powerful because it refines and strengthens faith. Like gold tested in fire, faith that endures through hardship is purified and proven genuine. 1 Peter 1 verse 7. This process of refinement, while painful, is purposeful, producing character and hope. Romans 5 verses 3-4. It builds spiritual resilience, enabling believers to withstand future challenges with greater fortitude. Biblical exemplars of hope and perseverance. The biblical narratives of Joseph, Paul, and Silas offer profound insights into the dynamic interplay between hope, perseverance, and divine intervention. Joseph's life, marked by betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment, epitomizes the virtue of perseverance. Despite the injustice he suffered, Joseph maintained his integrity and trust in God's plan. His eventual ascent to a position of power in Egypt illustrates how perseverance under trial can lead to divine elevation and fulfillment of God's promises. Paul and Silas, too, exemplify this principle. Imprisoned and beaten for their faith, they chose to sing hymns and pray in their darkest hour. Their response to persecution was not despair but worship, a profound expression of hope and trust in God's deliverance. The subsequent earthquake that freed them from prison, Acts 16 verses 25-26, symbolizes the breakthroughs that can follow when faith does not falter under pressure. Application in contemporary faith walks. For modern believers, these stories are not mere historical accounts but templates for handling adversity. They teach that the trials believers face today are opportunities for demonstrating faith through hope and perseverance. Whether dealing with personal loss, health crises, or societal injustices, the response of faith should be the same: hold fast to hope, persist in perseverance, and remain open to the ways God might manifest His power and providence. In embracing these virtues, believers are not ignoring the reality of their pain or the complexity of their challenges. Instead, they are choosing to view them through the lens of divine purpose and promise, believing that their present struggles are not just bearable but beneficial, serving as catalysts for spiritual growth and deeper communion with God. Thus, hope and perseverance are not just survival strategies but are transformative processes that renew the inner spirit, refine personal faith, and reveal the glory of God through the lives of those who dare to trust Him amidst the tempest.